All right, well, I think we can probably just move straight on to part 3 here, where we sort of compare and contrast and decide which one we might like a little bit better. You know, I did state a couple of reservations I had about This Is a Beautiful World in terms of some of the instrumentation and vocal production in particular. Nothing wrong with the singer themselves, but some of the vocal processing isn't quite what I would have liked. Going back to 1, part of me does kind of feel like that song, as good as it is, could have been a little bit better in a way I'm not sure I can totally describe. Maybe it's a little off-putting to have that one English line and then it goes straight back to Japanese. It's certainly, you mentioned Crystal K was pretty fluent in English, so I guess that all ties in there.
And it is quite common in Japanese pop. At least it makes grammatical sense.
Yeah, she definitely delivers it better than some of the other times they've injected English into some of these things, So
I'm guessing that you're leaning a little bit more towards This Is a Beautiful World. Is that...
No. In fact, actually, I do prefer 1, but hate is the wrong word. I try not to use that word in these discussions because it has 4 letters. Of course, so does love and good. But anyway, I wanted to suggest, and I'm sorry if this smacks of whitewashing, I would love to hear an English version of 1. Obviously, there you create the confusion with the song from the second movie if you go that far with it. But I think it might be possible to write something with a lot of effort and some work, and maybe even Crystal might herself have been up to this if she's very as fluent as English as at least that one line makes her sound. Maybe she could have worked on that.
She is. She sings a lot of songs in English, but yeah, I think this is a song that could have lent itself very easily to a English translation because the rhythm of it is very American, if that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, and other than Crystal, if I wanted to suggest someone who's worked with Pokemon or will work with Pokemon at the time we're saying this, I think Erin Bowman might not have been a bad choice there. She would get involved shortly thereafter this with Stand Up for the next season theme after this one. And she's a very talented singer that we will talk about a lot over the next, over a few upcoming movies in the latter half of Gen 4 and early Gen 5. But I wanted to sort of throw that out there. All that being the same, I enjoy listening to 1 more than This Is a Beautiful World. To be honest, actually my opinion of This Is a Beautiful World has improved a bit over time. I think I was somewhat put off by it initially. I still don't think it's quite as good as I would like, but I think that 1 does outclass it, even though I think with a few tweaks it could be, right now I'd say within the pantheon of, say, Japanese 1 is definitely in the top half. I think we could, I'm not sure exactly what, but with a little more work and polish, it could go from very good to maybe one of the top 3 or 5 of the entire Japanese ending movie theme, list, to be honest.
Huh.
I feel like there's a little more they can do with it, but I do prefer it over This Is a Beautiful World.
Huh.
What about you, Anne?
You almost made me defect with your, observation earlier about This Is a Beautiful World, but I am also going to give it to 1, and half of that, I have to admit, is this is the last movie that I was actually in Japan for all the hype, so, sentimental reasons almost have to push it. I saw this movie in the theaters, I was walking the streets when he would hear it playing out of the shop windows, this song, so there's a part of me that could never have not have picked this song. But I really do feel like it just gives off the aura that I associate with, seeing the movie. The song fits visually, it fits lyrically, maybe not as hardcore tight as some of the English ones that were written directly for their movies, but very close. I'm gonna give it to 1.
I think so too, but I think this discussion has actually kind of improved at least my knowledge of both of these, and I think my appreciation or gratitude for each of these.
I feel if we had had this discussion an hour before we actually recorded, my thoughts are moving so fast with this new way of looking at This Is a Beautiful World that I almost wonder if they might shift in like a good half hour's time if I keep thinking about it. But as it stands right this second, I'm giving it to 1.
Yeah. So that's always fun when we can do things like that. Okay, well, there's other music in this one. Now, there is no opening theme rendition, and I think part of that is probably just because of the unusual place these movies were really on both sides, because on the Japanese side, they had done yet another version of Together is what they were still using here. On the English side, they had used the current opening theme, We Will Be Heroes. They'd use it as the opening of the previous movie instead of that season's opening theme, and then now it's this season's opening theme under a different vocalist. So we have that bit of an odd scenario. In result, there's not an actual opening theme for this movie in vocal form, just kind of the way it's structured. As far as the overall score itself, I think it's good. It does not have a standout piece like Oracion from the previous movie. I think sort of the notable characteristic is some of the tracks have this sort of low synthesized, not rumble isn't the right word, it's sort of a weird, ethereal but synthetic instrument. I think it's supposed to represent like some of the Magnezone and all those Pokemon that are throughout the movie or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah, I thought I heard some echoes of stuff we heard in the last movie soundtrack for, like, the reverse worlds and stuff like that, but nothing really striking.
Yeah, certainly nothing quite as memorable, although I do like it. I like I said, as I mentioned, that sort of after the 9th or 10th movie, the Japanese scores, they aren't badly produced or anything, but I think they become less memorable as time goes on, and not just because there's more of them. I do think the actual compositions themselves don't quite make the same impression.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, because like, a lot of people will say, like, a good soundtrack is one that you don't notice, like, because it doesn't overpower. But at the same time, I think a soundtrack that's completely forgettable is probably not a plus either. And especially since some of the earlier Pokemon movies, like, the music was so iconic, we still think of it fondly today. It feels a bit like a missed opportunity that out of, movie 11 or movie 12, there's almost nothing that I can pick out and as something to keep on the playlist.
Yeah, I definitely recognized it re-listening to it and rewatching the movie a little bit, but there's definitely nothing that competes with Oracion or even some of the less specific tracks in the 10th movie and some of the earlier ones there. So, one other song we should definitely talk about that is related to this movie is called, well, the Japanese one, direct translation title is Stay With This Finger. It's also would be known by the English move name Follow Me. And basically, it's one of those very, very young directed, or I should say, one of those songs very much directed at the younger portion of the audience. I think it has some relationship to a coloring contest or something like that. And what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I don't know if it was present on the English DVD, but on the Japanese DVD and in the theaters, after the main theme song played this song started playing, Kono Yubi Tomare, and you got to see the winners of the coloring contest that they had. Like, they were all displayed and Pikachu was dancing around them and stuff. It was really cute. This song, it's cute. I don't love it, but I also tend not to love a lot of these sort of songs for the really young Pokemon audience unless I'm, like, in a specific mood. But I do appreciate the puns. Like, every 3 lines is a pun on a Pokemon move or a Pokemon name. They get the Bulbasaur pun in, that's real low-hanging fruit, and the Chansey one, but then there's, like, a lot of shout-outs to Executor and Drifloom and Torment and Ingrained and Reversal. Like, there's some obvious puns and then, like, some really clever ones and onomatopoeia. So if you know a little Japanese and want to just have a fun time going through the lyrics, it can be a real treat. But I wouldn't say it's a song that as an adult I'm as fond of. But it's cute.
Well, someone liked it, because when I played this on the station back in the day, it got some upvotes, so someone out there definitely appreciated it. I didn't think it was bad or anything. I kind of do like it myself, too. Maybe not knowing much Japanese and not getting, not sure what the word I'm looking for, but not being somewhat oblivious to some of the punnage there makes it a little more palatable. I'm not sure. I mean, these types of songs would typically not do super well on the station, but this was sort of the exception. Not sure what it was. I didn't have a huge sample size to go from or anything there, but like I said, somebody did like this.
Yeah, ridiculously catchy. So that could be it. Like, it's just, it could be just fun. And I just don't appreciate it enough, maybe.
Perhaps that's it. Okay, well, time for listener feedback. Now, in addition to the usual stuff with my YouTube channel and Anne's Patreon, I also posted, a few days before the discussion, I posted to Reddit with a few of my thoughts that I've brought up here. And we got a couple of responses. So first off, this is from Toxicant. And this person says, the vocal processing of the English ending could use some work, but it's worth mentioning that in English, when the movie is shown on TV, the ending theme does not play on most channels. And that's pretty common. I don't know if other countries do it differently, but yeah, they always want to keep you watching, so they start doing a promo for something, maybe the next show and stuff like that. But this person also said that Sky Warrior is their favorite Pokemon movie and doesn't think that they can choose which one they like more. So sort of a split opinion there. Let's see, the other one I got was from Jadri8, and this person prefers 1 and thinks it suits the film better. Says that they think that most of the time these are radically different in style. I think the only time when they're not literally trying the same song and they are similar styles, I think there's one that's going to come up later in the Diamond and Pearl generation for sure. Oh, and then movie 8, we also said they have, even though one's definitely Japanese, one's definitely English, there are some definite tonal similarities in the Lucario movie ending themes between the two. But yeah, they're certainly not afraid to go in different directions. Reading through the rest of this, let's see. Person thought the Manaphy, Darkrai, and Zoroark movies have some of the best in the English version, but still likes the Japanese ones for those movies. Person also did think, however, that the Lucario movie and the Lugia movie do have better English themes than Japanese ones. I think with the second movie, the Lugia movie, I think that's kind of where we've come to with that, is that Twa at Ma is not a bad song, but the Power of One in that particular one I do think comes out on top. I could see someone liking it the other way around, maybe, but I think the general consensus is pretty heavily towards the Power of One for that movie.
Yeah, I think that's where we came down on it.
And then we have a couple comments on previous episodes. So first off, on Movie 9, I got one from Esther Youch, Y-O-U-C-H. This person, she loves the Together We Make a Promise song, but says that she does really like pretty much all of them generally. And then we have The World of Kevin C., who caught our underappreciated songs. He mentioned, going along with what we said, there's some non-English, non-Japanese ones. And All Right from Sun and Moon's Thailand dub. And also the first Korean opening, which got remixed for the Sun and Moon Korean dub. So I really wish I could get a shot there. You can certainly, I'm sure, find those if you know where to look, I suppose. But yeah, those are some. I love finding new things to look for here. So that's always great. And just to put a little shout out here, if you missed one of our previous episodes and you have a comment on the music on one of those, just dig through Anne's Patreon, or I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. Go through the whole thing and post some comments there, and we'll try and get around to those in a future episode. Always love that. So even if you missed that particular discussion, go ahead and put a comment on there. Love those.
Indeed. And I'm especially loving everyone writing in with these international besides America and Japan. I would love to listen to them and maybe do an episode on them with you at some point.
Well, with that being said, our next episode, we're taking a little bit of a detour here. We're not going to be doing Arceus and the Jewel of Life next. Instead, we're going to be covering Pokemon Movie 20, I Choose You, and its ending themes. So on the Japanese side, we have a variant of Eurasian from the 10th movie. It has vocals with it now. It's called Let's Walk Together. And it's performed by a familiar name. Asuka Hayashi comes back after a, 14-movie absence. That'll be kind of interesting. On the English side, we have Haven Pashal. I think I may have said that right. I'm not sure. But she performs I Choose You. Of course, Haven was also the voice of Serena in the series, so we have a couple returning folks there, so that's going to be an interesting comparison, and I very much look forward to it. That's going to be our next discussion. Until then, Anne, thank you very much for being on again.
Oh, thank you for having me.
This has been Stephen Reich from the Pokepress Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, discussing the ending themes of the 11th Pokemon movie.